Aloha and mahalo for joining me. I'm Janet and welcome to the Called to Create podcast. I am here to help you ladies unlock your creative potential and use your God-given gifts and start a business. Because you were called to create and you have so much to share, and the world needs your creative gifts to be shared right now, ladies. Let's do this. And I am so excited to be here and to share all the things that I can with you today. And when you have a business, like I've mentioned this before, but when you have a business of your own, whether it's part-time or full-time, it really helps you to be able to use your creative gifts and get you excited. And just the idea of you creating something and sharing it with other people is just amazing what it can do for you. If you're in a job that you don't like, now's a good time to think about what you can start on the side. Or if you feel like something's calling you to create something, then pay attention to that. And that's exactly what I want to talk about at this moment is, when was the last time you felt inspired? Do you pay attention, like when you get those hits of inspiration and ideas that come to your mind and your heart? And I want to tell you, if you do get inspired, that moment of inspiration that happens, make sure you write it down as soon as you can. Because what happens for me especially is, if I don't write it down and I don't take action on it, I forget. It almost goes as fast as it came with that moment of inspiration. If I have a thought about doing something, whether it's to create something that I love, or to call someone, or to go visit someone, or to text somebody, if I don't write it down and take action at that moment, it's crazy like how that thought just disappears really quickly. It's like when you don't harness that inspiration, if you don't take it and harness it and do what you're supposed to, it's almost like you lost your opportunity. So if you ever have moments like that, please, please, please write it down. I don't want that to happen to you. But if it has happened to you, make sure you pay attention so that you don't lose that moment of inspiration anymore. But do something small. If you ever get a creative idea and that moment where you think, oh, that is so cool, like that thought just comes to you. That's like moments of inspiration, is when you have thoughts that come to you either in your heart or your mind, whether it's a thought or you can see it visually. Do something small, take action right away, and just figure out what is one small thing that you could do right away, or one step you could take. And sometimes it does involve calling someone or texting someone or creating something in that moment that's creative. And there are a lot of people who love to cook and bake and paint. I notice there's a lot of people going back to drawing and painting now that we're in this pandemic where we have to stay home a lot more and the kids can't go to school. I've noticed that a lot of people are getting back to doing all those creative things that maybe you've put aside. When you're growing up in elementary school, that's all the teachers have you focus on, is creating and have you going out and play, because that's what helps you create and develop, and your brain develops too as you're playing and you're being free and you're drawing and coloring and cutting paper and making a mess. And that's like what you have to do now. You can't just say, oh no, that making a mess like that is for kids. I've always believed, and even all the art classes and sewing classes that I've taught, I always believed that the more the students got messy and didn't care about having to do things perfectly or do it right, or even like your surroundings, when you're doing art or cutting things or whatever, usually there's all kinds of things laying around. Like, you can't be focused on, you have to have your paints all nicely situated here. You can't have all of your paintbrushes all nicely arranged by size. And when I was teaching sewing classes, you can't necessarily have all your fabric folded nicely in one place. And you can't worry about being so neat and organized and not being messy that it'll just stop you if you just focus on everything having to be nice. And even when you're creating, if you're drawing or painting something, people are so worried, I've noticed, where, oh no, this is messy, or this is ugly, I have to erase it and do it over. Or if they're painting, they're like, they paint it all over with one color because they don't like what they're painting, it looks too messy. And so the word messy, I'm using in both ways. I'm using it as figuratively and literally. In your mind, sometimes you think, oh no, I can't be messy. But literally, be messy. If you have things around you that you're creating, be okay with it being messy, because that moment of inspiration comes and you want to just go with it. Just take off and go and do what you need to do and not worry about having to be neat and orderly and tidy and clean, and worry about not being messy or any of those things. Just go with it, because that's when you'll reap the benefits of just taking action, that inspired action that you were given. Because every single pieces of information that come to your heart and your mind always come from God. And so he is giving you this opportunity, and I want you to seize that opportunity and take off with it, because that's where the magic happens. That's where the beauty unfolds, and that's where you get to discover things and create, and it just gets like everything flowing and you feel good. And then, if you are creating something physical, maybe even consider giving it to someone, brightening someone's day. Of course, maybe if you're doing a painting or a drawing or whatever, maybe you can put it up in your home, but consider maybe giving it to someone. If someone pops into your mind and someone's struggling, maybe you can give it to them and it'll brighten their day and help them, in their life too. And if you're doing any other kind of creative thing, a lot of people have gotten into like knitting and crocheting and more of that other physical type of creativity, tangible, where it's not just creating something online or on the computer, like digitally. People are getting back into all of these wonderful things, and I just love it, because I grew up doing all of those things. And that's how I know how inspiration and creativity work, is because I've always done it when I've gotten a hit of inspiration. Like for me, once I'm doing something creative, the creative ideas just keep coming. Like I could see in my mind, like if I was sewing something, I could actually see what that sewing project would look like, what the back would look like, what the inside would look like. If I was making a dress, I could see exactly the color, the length, the style, the whole completed image in my mind. And if I was making a quilt, I could see exactly what it would look like. But that's because I took inspired action. Every time I got an idea, I did it right away, and I just kept working on it and working on it and just went with it. And that's when all of this amazingness, is that a word? Amazingness. Let's use that. All the amazingness just kept happening, and it just kept pouring in the more I went with it. So that's what I want for you, and that's what I want to share with you and to teach you, is as soon as you get that inspiration of either a thought or an image or a feeling, do it right away, because you'll reap the benefits of it, but you won't know what the benefits are until you actually do it. So do this, because it really helps with just helping you feel like you're okay. And sometimes we're in this situation we're in now, there's a lot of stress and anxiety happening, and there's a lot more depression happening. But if you take the time to just focus in on any inspiration that you get and do something creative, I can guarantee that it'll help you deal with whatever emotion that you're dealing with at this moment. And I know this to be true because I've taught for so many years and worked with all different kinds of people and all different ages too. So I've seen it all, and it works for me as well. When I'm not feeling so hot, if I do something creative, then it really helps me to feel better. And if I'm feeling, not so good, or I'm not in a good mood, if I don't do anything creative, then I tend to stay in that energy of not feeling good, or being grouchy, or irritable, or whatever other emotions that's possible, because we experience all kinds of emotions. So do this for yourself today, because you want to be able to get to that place where the inspiration keeps coming and coming. And it's not only, inspiration doesn't only come for doing something creative. Inspiration comes in every single area of your life, and you want to be able to get help, right? You want inspiration that comes from God, because He's trying to help you. Do this today, and let me know what you're up to. You can also send me a direct message too, like if you've ever gotten an inspiration recently, and what it was and what you did. I'm here to support you. I want to share my message of creativity and creating what you want. That's something that I've done all my life, and I want to be able to help you do it, especially women. I love working with women because I feel like there's so much creative juices that women have. It just flows and flows. And to help a woman help you, if you're a woman, helping you, when I help women, like I want to help you, to be able to create what you want is just amazing. It's fulfilling for me, and it's something that I look forward to. So do this for yourself today, because you have worth and value, and you matter. So do something that matters in your life. Do something good for yourself. And please share this podcast with anyone who you know would get great value out of listening to it. Or if you know anyone that wants to start a creative business, please send this podcast their way. I would really appreciate that. And I want to ask you a favor. If you can please take a minute to rate and review this podcast. And if you're listening to this podcast in the Apple Podcast app, you can rate and review this show right there at the bottom. So as soon as you open my show, you can just scroll down all the way to the bottom, and you can rate and review it right there, because reviews are so important, and they tell potential listeners and Apple that this show is worth listening to. And I would really appreciate that. Thank you so much. And have a great day, ladies. Take care of yourself. Aloha.